today, and the majority of the clients that have come in so far have been felons or with a felony history. And so I wanted to just kind of go over briefly what they experienced as trauma or difficulty adjusting to the non-jail life. And I had 4 of them who came in, but 2 of them gave me permission to give them or to give the audience basic summaries of what they're going through. And I look tired, I see, because I had like 2 hours of sleep last night. All right, now I had one client who came in, and this person was basically talking about how he had been in jail for 37 years, and off and on he had the majority of non-jail time to just be 1.5 years total. So basically, from the time he was 17 until 37 years, he was in prison. He was spent most of his time in prison. He mentioned having a high level of irritability as well as fighting a lot. So he had a lot of assault charges. And the reason for that oftentimes is because when people are young, or especially when males are young and they end up being incarcerated, it's usually because they have not a good way of expressing their anger or expressing their feelings of frustration. So when they get into assaults or they have no one to combat them with their assaulted behavior, then they end up becoming involved in gang-like activity or activity that's not as healthy. Oh, now I see. Bad coping mechanism. Yes, Mark Tynan, 2015. Thank you for checking in. And so when they have that, they basically respond the best way they know how, which is frustration. Thank you, Ramirez 77Z, for joining. Bad parenting from the start. Well, it's not always bad parenting, but what can happen is a lack of good parenting. So you can have a great parent and you can have a bad parent. Hi, Lori Roth, but it doesn't always dictate if someone's going to be a criminal or anyone else, like a peer guidance. Almost, Mark. What happened is usually they have a lot of peer guidance, but a lot of the bad peer guidance. Thank you, BW64. So what happens is they're frustrated, and what's a huge common misconception is believing that when we are children, that our depression is the same way that adults have depression. When adults have depression, we want to stay inside the house. Thank you, Crassie, for joining. We don't want to take a shower, don't want to bathe. Thank you, Drum Timmy. We want to just sit around and be lazy. When you're a little kid, we don't express depression that way. Depression is expressed, thank you, Cassie Marias. When you're a little child, you have depression that shows up as irritability. So little kids might seem hyper. They might seem like they're fighting a lot. They're pulling hair. It might seem like they're just really annoying a lot of times. Did you ask about drug use? Yes, I did. I'll get to that in a few seconds. We're going to go over this one. When they have a lot of irritability, it comes off in their chemicals in their body as frustration and irritability. So it comes off as ADHD. So when I have a little kid who comes into me and they're very, very hyper, then usually what happens is my first thought is, okay, are they depressed and are they anxious? And if they're depressed or anxious, most of them are coming to me from the jail system or coming to me from a juvenile record referral because of being in assaultive behavior or fighting all the time. But that irritability, their only way of getting it out is to fight, is to get rid of that anxiety and that frustration. So if you ever have a little kid, you see them acting out, hi, they're free up. Thank you for joining. If you ever see them acting out and being combative and fighting all the time, please first check to see if they might have depression. Now, want to thank you for my great clinician skills, Mark Tynan. So the first person that I want to go over for his evaluation, he mentioned to me that he had been in prison. Thank you, Jammer Joy. Oh, by show of hearts, does anyone know anyone who has a long history of being in prison? For example, this guy right here is 37. I see a few hearts coming in. And this guy right here, he had been in jail. He's actually 62. He's been in jail for 42 years of his life. These are just the 2 that gave me permission to talk to you. So I see a few of you know people who have been in jail for a long time. What they end up saying to me is that it's harder. Awesome teaching skills in youth ministry and in men's ministry. Yes. A lot of times what happens is that They become so into the system that they don't know how to be in normal life. And it really surprised me to hear that a lot of people feel as if when they come out, meaning they're either locked up or they say that they've been inside or that they just came out. So a lot of times when they come out, they feel more confused. They feel more traumatized being at home in a door in a house that could open up than when they feel like they are inside jail locked up. And the surprise, does anyone know this, the reason why they may feel more uncomfortable? Yes, institutionalization. Yep. Anything else? Anyone else have any votes for what they may think is going on? Or why they feel more comfortable? Anybody? Join Nunya Business. That's a cute name. Okay, a lot of times why they feel more paranoid and more traumatized when they come home is because the rules that are there are not, they're self-destructive. Okay, Mag Abdul joined. Thank you for joining. They often don't know what to expect. There's a common saying that there's honor among thieves and that there's also rules among thieves. And so what happens is that when they're in jail, there's a specific code of being that when you're outside, the deception or the fights or the arguments or the manipulative behavior is more passive. And so a lot of their trauma comes from not knowing how to adjust to the real world that may have undercover thieves. But in jail, it's very clear who's doing what, whose rank is what, and what to expect from somebody. So does anyone have any questions about my psych evals for the people who had the felony history today? Any questions about felons? Any questions about what they may report? Lots of papers on that. So Mark, what kind of, do you have a history in counseling, or what is it that you work on doing? Police. Oh, okay. Okay, I can understand that. I do a lot of police evaluations because police officers have so much to deal with because you're in your job. And then, thank you, Nunya Business. You're in your job, but then when people come into you off the street, whether it's a traffic pullover or someone getting into a fight, I don't speak Russian, Mag Abdul. When they're getting into a fight, you don't really know what you're dealing with. So a lot of times I help the police officers understand that if a person is being belligerent or they're fighting or spitting on you or cussing or arguing, it might be because they're actively psychotic and they think that you are against them. A lot of times it's because, thank you, Jazzy Blackman, it might also be because they feel as if in their paranoia that you are part of the system that's coming out to get them or monitoring them. And when they have that and then you're coming into their psychosis, they don't understand that you're not a real person out to try to get them. So that's kind of like what I do with the police officers, Mark. By show of hands, does anyone else have police officers in their family who have been negatively impacted by psychotic clients or civilians? Nope. Okay. All right. So now let me get to another thing that I thought was very interesting. It's a ramp down process. What I know, another thing that was interesting for the two people who I saw today with a felony background is that they, even though they were out and they were free, a lot of very complicated, yes, Utaki, I hope I'm saying it correctly, is that they just feel as if they don't have the skills to be in the civilian or non-in-jail world. So my advice to you today before we close is that if you have someone who has had a long jail history or someone who is a little kid who is about to have a long jail history because they have aggressive behaviors or violent behaviors, first recognize, is depression the main thing that's kicking off their aggressive or combative behavior? They're out of the social life, yes. Or also, when they do come home out of having that long jail term history, do they have the skills and the support in their network to not go back in? A lot of times they go back into jail, not because they've just been institutionalized per se, but because they don't know any other way to be, and they feel safer knowing what to expect with those consistent rules rather than the unknown rules of the free world. Nunya said, proper experience in community is not accepting the individual. Very true. or they make a unreal world. What do you mean, Yutaki? So often when they don't know how to socialize, or they don't have an unreal world, or they have people not accepting them, it's because they label them as their past rather than what their potential is. So those are just my 2 felony cases that I had today. Today is the day I do psych evals for the state. I usually have other clients, executives as well. So I see a whole range of clients. So tune in. I'm going to try to log in every day at 3 o'clock so that I can give you updates from my clients, be they executives. I have a few high profile people like in politics or entertainment. So they will not obviously let me show you their faces, but I'll be able to give you sometimes people actually listening into my sessions and also my feedback afterward. If you have any questions, feel free to send it to me on my Twitter at Dr. Renee Carr or my website, drreneecarr.com. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.